In this tutorial, I'll show you how to set up a simple tile set to use with TileGen. You start by getting one of the template tile sets from the project folder. It can be found under the Assets folder, TileGen folder, Sample Textures folder, and Templates folder. Here, you can find the different resolutions that you need, as well as 2 variations of each resolution. Note that the pixels in the resolution, they stand for the size of the tile, not of the whole image. So this, for instance, the 16 pixel template would mean that it's a template with tiles that are 16 by 16 each. For this example, I'm gonna use the 16 pixel tile. I'm gonna use the easy version instead of the layout one, and I'll explain why later. So you drag that to Photoshop so you can get started. The first thing you want to do is have access to the grid so you know exactly what you're doing. So you go to Edit, Preferences, Guides, Grid, and Slices, and under Grid, you set Grid Line Every to the resolution of your tile. So in this case, it's 16 pixels, so I can set it to 16, and subdivisions, I'll set it to 2, so I can see every half of the tile. So this is a full tile, and this is a full tile that is divided by 2. We want that, so click OK. You have 13 basic tiles, which are the 4 corners, which would be this, 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 the 4 edges or shores or sides, which would be this, 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 and this, the middle tile, which would be this, and the 4 inverse corners, this, 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 and this. I'll make a simple tile set that is easy to understand, and I'll explain the details later. So before I get started, you might be wondering, what are these red lines and red corners in the corner and inverse corner tiles? That has to do with some limitation of the tile sets. But to summarize it, it means that the actual curved part of the tile can only be made in this red quadrant of each of these tiles. So for instance, you wouldn't be able to make a curve on these tiles that went out of the bounds of this quadrant. So if you do it like this, that's a bad curve. This would also be a bad curve because only a part of the curve is contained within the red quadrant. This is a good curve. This is a good curve. As long as the curved or sloped area is within the red area, then you're good. It's the same here. The curve can only be here or here. It'll make more sense when I explain how the system works, but for now, try to make the curved part of the corner tiles and the inverse corner tiles be contained only here. This should connect to the left tile, but you cannot start the curve from here, nor from here, nor from here. The curve needs to start from within this area. This is important. If you don't follow this rule, your tile set won't be generated properly. So as you can see here, if I overlay my template on top of the tile set that I'm drawing, you can see that the actual curve on my tile is within the red area. So it does not come from here, it comes from within the red area. And the same applies to the inner curve of the inverse corner tile. My curve is entirely contained within this area. It will also be okay if my curve was here, but not if it started outside of the red area and curved around it. So just make sure that your curved or even sloped areas are contained. I'm gonna make an example of a sloped tile that is okay and a sloped tile that is not okay as well, to make it very clear. So again, you can also make corner tiles that are sloped, but sadly the slope needs to be contained within the red area. This is the correct usage of it, and this would be the wrong usage of it, where this tile, which is the northeast corner tile, has a slope on the whole tile. The boundaries need something drawn in there, and the curved part needs to be contained within the boundaries, the red boundaries. So this wouldn't work, but this would, because this corner tile right here, this line goes straight to the quadrant and then it slopes. Or in the case of the regular tile set, it curves. This is good, this is good, this is not good. The curve or the slope needs to be here. So we can see that we have this corner tile, this top tile, this corner tile, the middle tile, so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure they are tileable, so that's good. We have the inverse corners, and this is done. But for it to work with TileGen, it needs to be in a proper template. If you remember, when I got the template, this is the easy one. The file is called easy. There's also the layout one. Layout means that it is in the proper layout accepted by TileGen. So it's simply this. Essentially, you get these two tiles here and you put them at the bottom here. So you can see this difference right here. This is the easy because the inverse corner tiles are easier to draw. And this is on the layout, but it depends on preference. Maybe some people would like to already draw in the template, in the layout needed to save on time. Some people might want to draw on the easiest setting so they can just later on just move this here. It's up to your preference. So essentially what we'll do is we'll get the canvas size and increase the height a little bit. I'll say maybe 70 or 80, so it's a square. We'll select these two tiles here, we'll press Ctrl T, and we'll move them to the bottom here. And we'll apply. So now if you go to the outer part of the canvas on the top left side, we click, we hold Shift, and we drag so we can make a perfect square selection. We'll select everything and we'll go to Image and Crop. If you don't use this template, or if your curves are not in the quadrants, your final tile set will not work, sadly. It needs to be on this template to work. So now you save this and you take it to Unity. So I'll save mine as a PSD file and I'll just call it tutorial wooden floor. And I'll hit OK. So now let's move to Unity. Okay, so now that we're in Unity, we can navigate to our texture, and my texture should be somewhere here. And we'll have to set it up with some things. So first of all, you have to set it to read and write enabled. This is really important. If you don't check this, it won't work. The compression settings, you can do whatever you need, but my suggestion is to set the max size to be the resolution of this small tile set, so 64 by 64, so you set 64 here. In the format, you set it to RGBA 32-bit, and you apply. And if your tile set is pixel art, which in most cases it will be, you set the filter mode to point, and you apply. So we're good to start. essentially all you do is you navigate to the TileGen folder and you go to the TileGen scene. You should open this scene, and if you hit play mode on Unity, it should help you generate your tile set. So I'm gonna hit play, and it instructs me to add my base tile set, which is the tile set that we just created, to this field of this game object here. So it's under Canvas TileGen, one panel start, add base tile here. So we navigate to the raw image and we add our tile set to this field. So I'm gonna look for mine, and I'm gonna drag it here. So it's gonna determine if it's a valid tile set. In my case it is. I can give it a name. I'll just call it wooden floor, and you'd simply click on generate and it creates my tiles for me. Good. It can be located under Assets TileGen Resource Export Tilemap. So Assets TileGen Resources Export Tilemap. So as you can see, the final image is here. It creates an actual image file on Windows, which you can find here. And it also creates a rule tile, which is a very powerful tool that Unity uses. So to test your tile set, now that you have your rule tile, you first need to go to Game Object, you go to 2D Object, and you create a tile map. It's going to create a grid for you and a tile map. And please note that for this, you're going to need to download the 2D Extras package from Unity. It's free on GitHub, and it's a really important tool to have if you're working with 2D games. You can do this by just going to Google and looking for Unity 2D Extras. And you'll find it in the first link here. You can clone or download it. You download the zip and you extract it inside your project, and then you should have it. Note that if you don't have 2D Extras, this will not work because rule tiles are part of the 2D Extras, so you need them. So now you have your grid and your tile map, which is essentially your canvas to draw your tiles. And you can go to Window, 2D, Tile Palette. I'll dock mine here, and I'll create a new palette called Tutorial Palette. And I'll just put it under my assets folder. So it tells me to drag a tile, sprite, or sprite texture asset here. So I'm simply gonna drag my wooden floor. My rule tile is there. So if I select it, I get the brush tool here. And the way it works is it automatically paints the tile for me. It changes the tile so I can paint with it.